there was something from John Cross. He's a big journalist. He's not really one that everyone goes to Manchester United for, but it was interesting to see, and others. I'll talk about others, but saying the Glazers are open to selling their stake in Manchester United for offers exceeding 5 billion. And the Athletic was the one that we were really looking at sort of a day and a half ago. They were saying the Glazers are reportedly considering selling Man United before 2027 to maximize profits. This is where it got a bit mad, though. Potential buyers include Sheikh Jassim from Qatar. Remember that guy? Remember Sheikh Jassim? UAE groups, investors from Saudi Arabia, and several private equity firms. And that source was from the Athletic. So that was the one where my ears kind of pricked up a little bit, because it kind of died down after Turkey Al Sheikh's claims and information that he put out. And then the Athletic went kind of not one further, but they wanted to get their 10 pence in. Big. We know how reliable the Athletic are and the sources that they have. They're very reputable. And they're saying the Glazers are reportedly considering selling Man United before 2027 to maximize profits. And of course, we know about the clause with Sir Jim, where they can force him to sell his shares. Essentially, they don't have to tell him anything. They can force him to sell his shares, which would be crazy, because he wouldn't have any say over that. But the drag-along rights is what's there, and that's why February 2027 is a notable date. Shout out Mark Critchley and Dan Sheldon. They did a piece on this about why it's so important. And that's why there's this talk about February 2027, right? And look, I still believe if the right money comes in, I do think the Glazers will sell the club. I do. I think the reason why they didn't sell it the whole time before was because that whole bid of what they expect Manchester United to be, the valuation, it wasn't met. The valuation wasn't met. So on one hand, it feels like very much, they're never gonna sell. What's the point? Believe it when I see it. And there is a lot of that because they've been here a long time, and we got really close last time, and they still stayed in a majority capacity. But the truth of the matter is, like Lil Yo-Yo just said there, no one paid up. No one paid up. So to me, I don't think this is like a huge revelation. I think it's interesting that we're getting towards this drag-along clause, which is, in that time, whereby there's a period of, remember when there was a period of exclusivity where it was like, okay, they're now locked in and talking to only Ineos. Well, this is a period of exclusivity back the other way, where the Glazers have this clause, which seems quite common in business, where they can sell to a favourable buyer if it meets their valuation. And Sir Jim can do nothing about it. They can just pull up one day and say, just to let you know, Jim, big up for the investment and all them things there. But actually, we are selling to this consortium in the UAE that's made up of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah and wherever else in the UAE, right? We're doing that, and we're accepting a bid for, I don't know, £8 billion. $8 billion. So you got to sell your shares, bro. And so Jim could be essentially left with nothing. I mean, sure, you'd like to think there's something that protects him in that situation. If he's bought 25% ish. I think it's 25 point something percent. Someone who is one of the scholars, the finance scholars, put it in the chat. What is the exact percentage that Jim's got? But let's just say it's 25%. And it was for roughly 1.2 something billion, I want to say, as well, off the top of my head. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think it's about that. He must have something that protects him for his investment. Surely. I mean, that's not what we're hearing. 27% says Aria, thank you. That's not what we're hearing. We're here, 30%. What is it? It's going to start getting a bit mad. 27.7 for 1.25 billion. I do remember the 1.25 billion. So 1.25 billion for just under 30% of the club. And it would be mad for him to have, he put 50 million into Carrington. I think, didn't he put like 200 million in? I remember reading that at a time when it was to help with a few debts plus the running of the club. Shout out Tavares. We might need to get Kieran Maguire back on. You've been saying that for a while. We'll try and get him back on. He's a busy, busy man, but we'll try and get him back on. I'll shout him. And he's put quite a bit in, really. He's put more than the Glazers have put in, probably for their whole time here. And listen, I'm not Sir Jim's biggest fan. I think there's a lot there where he's waffling. But if you just look at action, he has taken 250 million pound of his own out of his own pocket, and obviously parted with 1.25 billion in order to purchase that 27+%. So he has put his money where his mouth is. I'll give him that. But to have put that money in there, he's leaving himself open, and he could get burnt. He could get burnt, bro. Like Show says there. If you get into bed with the Glazers, you can't be sorry for him if you get stabbed in the back. And I hear that because, like we've said, bro, that the Glazers have played this completely right. Yeah, so Jim got scammed. If they sell to somebody else in that time, he would have got scammed because they would have brought him in on a temporary measure for like what? If they sell it in 2027, which is what, a couple of years away, plus they've already been here just over a year. So that would have been, he would have been in power for like 3 and a bit years, Sir Jim and Ineos as minority shareholders, stakeholders, but made all the sporting decisions on the pitch, everything, with the managers, the players, etc., building the football structure, just for them to sell it potentially to, you know, someone in the UAE, a consortium, or Sheikh Jassim, or whoever it may be, yeah, and them to say, right, see you later, thank you, thank you, but we got 8 billion into the sunset in LA. So yeah, and he's done worse than the Glazers as compost. Still cheaper than Chelsea season ticket, yeah, exactly. So look, I don't think there's any surprise in this story. I don't think there's any shock revelation about it. I just think it's interesting to note. And as we head towards this February, you know, why the 20, Laurie, well, he retweeted it, but he was saying, you know, this drag along the rights and plus why February 2027 is a notable date. That's when, you know, that clause comes off. So to maximize the returns, which would happen if they kept the club for that long and then sold it, the Glazers might consider selling Man United before February 2027. So look, I can see why this is a thing, but I still think nothing's imminent. We're still waiting on this Sheikh Jassim thing to materialize. This whole advanced stages, like Stephanie says there, let's get to 200 likes. But even from the the Turkey Al Sheikh situation, we still haven't seen that materialize. Like, will we ever hear anything about that? We're at 104 likes. Let's keep pushing. You know what I mean? Will that ever materialize? Is it just an empty thing from Turkey Al Sheikh that didn't materialize? He says it's possible that it might not materialize. He just knows that it's at advanced stages. And if something is at advanced stages, then you'd think that it's imminent, that it's going to happen. But clearly, it's not. Aria says Barcelona. Oh, that's a little bit of news there from the Sun. Aria says Barcelona have made the decision to sign Marcus Rashford on a permanent deal in the summer of 2026, says the Sun. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I haven't seen that. Martinez as well. Yep. Aria, you're just feeding in the news. Is expected to be medically cleared in early November. We'll see when he's back in first team training as well. We're talking about Leacher and his comeback as that gets closer. But yes, to finish off on the Glazers, wait and see, innit? It's wait and see, bro. Wait and see. Let's see what happens with what Turkey Al Sheikh says. And let's see what happens as we get closer to February 2027. I mean, we're not even near February 2026 yet. Well, we're near it, but we ain't even got past that, where there is actually a whole year left before this drag-along clause is kind of finished. Court Star says, I forgot about Leacher. I hear you on that. It is weird. You forget that he plays for us. He's been out for so long. You forget what an important player he can be. When we were playing some of our better stuff, wasn't for very long, but in that little period where he was quite integral, a couple of games in Europe, he was integral against City away, Fulham away, Liverpool away. He had that little period of games, didn't he, before he got badly injured, where he still was doing all right. Terence Pace, I forgot we still have Malacia. Yeah, I mean, he's training with the first team, but I'll be stunned if he even makes the bench, to be honest with you.